I think Kansas City's going to win. I think the Eagles are going to win. After that, I don't have an effing clue.
I got a bunch of numbers for you. I figure we could do numbers at 7:38, and we could do our picks at 8.
Okay.
Fill the short segment, week
JP.
whatever, and the pod.
Right.
So Felipe will do the pod in the 8:21 segment. And there you go. It's up to you guys if you want to rerun the 7 o'clock hour.
It is Football Friday.
I figured you were thinking that with Pat on it.
Well, I'm just thinking it'd be real easy, and then we'll give the, I mean, it's up. I don't care. Or we could just do it. Another Ferentz? Really? Oh.
Yeah. Yes, Dandy. Teach your children well. David Crosby. Another one gone. I think if you had the over, you won your ticket.
Oh, my God. How many times did you, if this was blackjack, how many times did we split and double down on David Crosby?
Right.
Jeez.
He was splitting tens for quite a while, my friend.
Oh, my
and somehow
goodness.
coming out smelling like a rose.
We've been splitting tens since he turned 60. Wife never said what killed him, though. Do we think it was hepatitis C, which he had years ago? She mentioned something about a long illness.
Long illness, yeah. Gosh, that's pretty good too.
So, between Cayuga and Seneca, huh? Mark, you and Eve, not that you would ever visit this part of the country, but if by chance you did during the summer, if you visited the Finger Lakes, they have unbelievable wine tasting.
I would love to go up there. It's actually on our list of places we'd like to rent for a week.
Yeah,
Here we go.
It is gorgeous in the summer.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on a Football Friday.
Football Friday.
How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We don't have a lot of these left. We got to celebrate them. Arguably, this is the biggest one left. Got 7 games left. 4 of them are this weekend. How you doing this morning?
I'm ready. I'm with you. I'm really ready for this weekend. It's such a great weekend. These 2 next weekends are the best weekends of football, in my opinion, that there are. This weekend is special with 4 games. We've eliminated most of the teams that don't belong. There may still be a couple, but we'll find out. We will find out. We got the Jags playing.
Mark,
everybody saw that coming.
Mark, you should see the local newscast this morning in Jacksonville. All right. Action News Jax. That's a real station. It's CBS 10. They have their entire newscast live from the parking lot of the stadium.
Arrowhead?
No, Jacksonville, because the team hasn't left yet, Mark. Okay. There's a send-off party.
Okay. All right. I get it.
And I mean, all around the stadium. Got the one news anchor here, one news anchor there. Got the weather guy on the other side of the stadium. You got just a generic reporter who's walking around.
David, I mean this in the most positive way. Where are you going to go?
I mean, I got to admit, there were a couple of shootings and an armed robbery of a Walgreens. I mean, it was a busy news day yesterday. Doesn't matter. Does not matter.
They can't set up in front of the Walgreens.
Well, actually, they could. It's at a major intersection, actually. Mark, I don't know if you're aware, Walgreens are always on a corner.
They are. That's why it's so tough to set up there. I don't know where you put the truck.
In the parking lot. That's where you put it. You put it in the parking lot. All right. It's very convenient. I mean, if you're going to have an armed robbery from a news station standpoint, okay, a place on the corner is fantastic. Get a lot of visibility. People see you going by. That's what you want. That's why you got the vans, with the slogans and the things on it. Fantastic. But nope, that all goes to the side. That was yesterday. Okay. There's nothing else going to happen in Northeast Florida for the next 2 days. The occasional weather forecast, occasionally. But you're more likely to get the weather forecast in Kansas City than you are, along the trail.
And good. That's the way it should be. That's the way that it should be. Good for the Jags. Good for the Jacksonville news jumping all over this. That's what they're supposed to do.
Unbelievable. I mean, if they were smart, I would have gone live from a Waffle House, personally. All right. That's where I would have found the Waffle House, okay, that they went to. I'd be live from there.
This is where Trevor Lawrence had his pecan waffle.
Exactly. I've
got one coming in 6 minutes. When we come back from weather, I'll be eating that waffle on the air.
Exactly. This is where Trevor sat 5 days ago. This is the meal he had. Can I get some syrup with this? Thank you. Oh, yeah. So there you have it, Mark. In a few places all over the country, that's your local news this morning. I'll bet you they're in the parking lot in Orchard Park, baby.
I bet you that they are.
Especially the weather guy talking about what the forecast is going to be. Johnny, what's it going to be at 1 o'clock on Sunday? Well, Patricia. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Johnny and Patricia, doing Buffalo News 9. I like that you had Johnny and Patricia right out of a Springsteen song or maybe a Bon Jovi song. I'm not sure which, but there's a little flare of Jersey in that rundown, David.
That's right. Johnny used to work on the docks. Now he's got the forecast. Johnny? No? I was Tommy. Whatever. Just having some fun. Here you go. So I'm all up to date, Mark, on the send-off party. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very collegiate.
Very. Very. Now I know why they have the Florida-Georgia game here every year. Of course, I think there's more atmosphere at the Jaguars send-off party than there is at the cocktail party, but that's a whole other story. That's for another day. So, well, let's be honest. The two marquee games are Sunday. And really, Saturday is all about, got a couple of teams that are more than a touchdown underdog. Can they give the 1 seeds a game? I mean, we got a 4 seed and a 6 seed on the road. Neither team won 10 games this year in the regular season, right? Jags were 9-8, Giants were 9-7-1. So we got a couple of non-10 win teams in the regular season on the road against 1 seeds. And I think 1 seeds that both won 14 games, right? I mean, there's a clear disparity here.
There is. There is. And you have to try to figure out what's the path to victory for either the Giants or Jacksonville. How do they get this done? We don't care if we get upsets. We just want games. How do they keep the games competitive?
Can I give you a couple numbers?
You can give me a couple numbers. I hope they're about running backs, because to me, how you keep the games competitive are the running backs for each of the teams that are underdogs.
They're not specifically about running backs, but running back, I think, factors in. So the Jags this year have been an underdog in just about every game they've played, which makes sense. I mean, they're the Jags. They won 4 games the last 2 years combined. I mean, how many games are they going to be favored in? Mark, as an underdog, straight up, the Jags are 8-5. That's not against the spread. That's just straight up as a dog.
Okay.
They're 8-5. The Giants, best team in the league against the spread this year. Best team in the league. 14-4 against the spread. 11-2 as an underdog. Place your bets accordingly.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, for what they've done this year against the opponents, because both the Eagles and Chiefs are below 500 against the spread, which isn't that surprising. They're two of the best teams in the league. They have to cover bigger numbers every week. Okay. And they've been unable to do it half the time. Okay. So believe it or not, from a betting standpoint, this is where if you're not a gambler, just like sometimes you're not a fantasy person, but we do a fantasy segment or you hear a fantasy segment and it actually tells you something maybe about the game and you go, oh, that's interesting. This is where, Mark, the Vegas person would sit down at a table with a group of people who are not interested in gambling on the game and say, well, just so you know, the numbers say that both games will be closer than the spread. So now figure out your enjoyment level, figure out, what you think might happen. And by the way, Jags a 9-point dog, Giants a 7.5-point dog.
And that Jags line's gone up a half a point, right? Didn't that start at 8.5?
Most of the lines have gone up, actually. I mean, the Bengals line's really gone up. And even the Niners went up a half a point. So we'll see where the Sharks are and if these lines move a half a point to a point really late in a certain direction. Fascinating thing going on with the Giants-Eagles. Giants haven't won at the Link in a decade. They've lost every game they played there since 2013. Yet they've covered in almost all of them. I think they've covered 5 of their last 6 games there. Yet they've lost all of them.
Lost every one of them, right.
So just saying maybe the Giants in 7.5 is the play.
Seems that way based on the number. You want to look at the trends. You want to look at those things. And I do think that these games will be closer than the numbers.
Well, then if that's the case, then basically we're talking 2 one-score games here. And if that's the case, hey, anything could happen. I remember, was it 2 years ago? Baker Mayfield and Cleveland went to Kansas City. And Kansas City, had the bye and the overwhelming favorite and the whole deal. Now, granted, Mahomes got hurt in the third quarter. And Chad Henne had to come in and finish it out. And Kansas City didn't do much offensively. But remember, Baker and the boys actually had the ball down 5 late in that game. I mean, the Browns had a chance to win in Kansas City. Mahomes has never been an underdog, by the way, in the playoffs. Ever.
And Trevor's never lost on Saturday.
Right. Going all the way back to high school. High school, college, and pro. Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday.
What's a more impressive stat?
Well, I'd like to know the number of games Trevor's played on a Saturday. Like, I'm guessing, he didn't play many of them in high school.
No.
He played 3 in high school.
Played a bunch in college, though.
Right. And he's played a handful in the pros.
Yeah. Bada bing, bada boom. He's played
But
the
to be
last
a
2
quarterback can never be an underdog in the National Football League is also equally impressive.
It's ridiculous.
In the playoffs, Mahomes has never been a dog. Never. Chiefs, by the way, with a win, will be in their 5th straight AFC Championship game. That's fairly impressive. You got to give them that, right?
It's dynastic.
Huh? 2-2 in those games, all of them at home. You don't think the Chiefs are rooting for the Bengals, do you? So they can get a home game versus going to Atlanta?
Absolutely. What a wild weekend that we've got. The possibility of a neutral site AFC Championship game still on the line with all of this going on in the forefront. And what could be on the backside is going to the Mercedes-Benz Dome for an AFC Championship game. It doesn't make a lot of sense. We'll try to sort it all out, getting through divisional round playoffs today on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I love your spirit, Adam.
Right. That's hysterical.
I do laugh now, though, that the collar has maintained its spot on the dog.
Did she notice?
She put it on him.
Last night?
No, she put it on him last week.
Just saying.
I mean,
She put it on him.
Yeah, she's going to wake up this morning with the dog in bed and a Jags collar on. She's not going to know what to do.
Oh.
She's not working today, is she? Wow.
Got to work tomorrow, though.
Oh, okay.
Something happened over the last couple of weeks. Something happened yesterday. Well, it didn't happen. It's happened in the last 3 weeks. But my son is the one that clued me in on it. See, next weekend, my daughter's playing in a soccer tournament in Cape Coral.
Okay.
Jake just asked me, he says, well, wait a minute. Did your rec soccer just move to, are you no longer a rec soccer parent and are you a travel soccer parent?
Oh.
And I stopped and I went, oh, crap. You're right. Because apparently we're playing in a tournament in February and a tournament in March. And this just kind of morphed out of a rec team.
Right.
I've become a travel parent.
That's awful.
It's awful. Yes, she did, Jake. It took me a year to get the collar out of her hands, and now proud for it.
By the way, did the house measure up?
Everything. I scored big points.
There you go. See?
So much so, so much so that, almost that I'm not needed. You've got this under control. Oh, do you even need me around here? The little passive aggressive came.
Right. And I just go, no, actually, no. Mm-mm.
I told her I needed. I said, the pressure alone, I can't handle anymore. I need a backup.
You should say to her, only Sunday mornings. That's it.
I ran into my buddy yesterday that does the podcast, and he's walking his dog, and his wife's business is taking off. He goes, I'm now picking up and dropping off. I don't know what the hell's happened to me. He goes, I'm 64 years old. I don't need to be picking up and dropping off. I just said, do they call you grandpa? He's like,
I used to sit away from everybody whenever there was cheerleading or gymnastics or soccer. I would just...
Boy, that surprises whom? The gymnastics parent, the moms might talk to other moms. I am ostracized at gymnastics. You're the one guy there. They don't talk to you. Spooner will say hi if I see her. And one of Maddie's teachers sends her kids there, and she likes me.
Is there hostility or just kind of like you're not part of the club?
Correct. You're not part of the club. Not
Gotcha.
hostility. It's just...
All right.
30 seconds.
How about Gonzaga losing at home?
Oh, my God. 75-game winning streak.
Their fourth loss, I think.
Yeah, but they had a 75-game home winning streak.
No, I know, but
They play real teams now.
Hey, BYU.
Oh, wow.
BYU had them last week.
Yep.
Let them off the hook.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. A reminder, Pat Kirwan joins us now at the top of the hour on Fridays. Don't have to wait till 8. Pat joins us at 7. JP Shadrick, part of the Jags Radio Network, will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. Mark, it's been a very disappointing week because normally we got a lot of head coaches that get fired this week.
Right.
I don't want to say that's exciting because you and I have been fired, and it kind of sucks.
Right, but we've never been fired with 3 years left on our contract.
No.
They have to pay.
Correct.
All of our contracts read they can fire us whenever they want. We have to work the contract out 6 months after and a lot of other things. So I'd be all for getting fired if I could get paid for 3 years without having to do anything. Cliff
Right.
Kingsbury right now is in Thailand living his best life.
Hello. So it's been, from a sports talk show host standpoint, it's been a very disappointing week because, I mean, Lovie Smith got fired. It was still Sunday. I mean, the only guy who's been fired since the regular season ended was Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, we had 3 guys let go during the season. Lovie was fired, I think, before the Sunday night football game ended. I think before the Lions had beaten the Packers, Lovie was fired. So there's only been one head coach fired, Mark, in like the last 10, 11 days. It's very disappointing. From a sports talk show host standpoint.
Right.
Well, I got to admit, the guys who kept their jobs, they're making up for it because they're firing everybody.
They are cleaning house.
Just you, and you over there. Yeah, you just leave your keys on the table. You're checking out of the hotel. They're just, here you go. Mm-hmm.
Here's a box. Gather your things and enjoy your day.
Todd Bowles fired 6 assistants yesterday, and 3 others said, you don't have to fire me. I'm retiring. You're not nearly as much fun as Bruce. I don't need to come back. 9 people were told to turn in their keys yesterday at $1 place. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I mean, even on the Alabama staff, with all the interns and analysts that they have, if 9 of them all of a sudden aren't there the next day, there's 30 something remaining who walk around and go, hey, what happened to Tom? No. Then you had Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I mean, that was piddly. He only got rid of 4 coaches, David, compared to the 9 that Bowles got rid of.
I know.
Might have to have another meet and get rid of a few more to keep pace.
I think it's because McDaniel actually, half his staff he brought on. I mean, Todd basically inherited a staff. So, I mean, listen, Todd doesn't come across as the friendliest guy in the world. Rarely smiles. Oh, Mark, now I think we know why. Well, he hated half his staff.
Makes doing those weekly press conferences a little more difficult.
Yeah, he wants to tell the truth. What happened there? Well, this guy who I didn't hire screwed up. Never mind this guy who's calling the plays. I don't like him either. Listen, I get it. Like the Vikings fired their defensive coordinator. I get it. It was the weakest part of the team. It was. They didn't do squat against the Giants in the playoff game. I mean, that the Giants were basically running a scrimmage. That's how influential the Vikings defense was against what it is they wanted to do. But it is pretty odd. You win 13 games in the regular season as a coordinator, you usually don't think you're getting fired.
Really? With what went on in Minnesota this year, I don't know if anybody but the head coach thought he was safe. I'm not, because, yeah, they won all those games, but we know the story. They were all 1-score games. They were letting teams back in. I can't say that I'm overly surprised that they made a defensive change in Minnesota.
No. You're right. Very few people are surprised, but on paper, it does look a little. So you got fired? Yeah. Well, what was your record? 4-13? No, actually, it was 13-4. Wait, what? Huh? Don't know what to tell you. Apparently, I was the weakest link. I sucked.
Did they finish the season with a negative point differential?
Yes.
They did. I think by like 2. That's tough to do.
Just mention that, and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
And I love the in Baltimore, Greg Roman as offensive coordinator. He resigned. See, he thought, John and I talked about the future. I have such high regard for John and the staff and the city of Baltimore and this organization. And, I'll probably just, I'm excited about what the future holds and pursue some other opportunities, but it's probably time for me to go. Oh, it's very big of you.
I do love the comments the coaches put on there, like McDaniel. The defense made strides through the season, so coming to the decision was not easy. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I made this decision a month into the season that I didn't want this guy in the first place.
First losing streak, I realized, oh, wow, Brian Flores was calling the defense last year, wasn't he? Huh. I mean, Matt Canada on our show a month ago said that Josh Boyer was going to be fired. That's not exaggeration. We could pull the tape. So, I mean, Mark, I got to be honest. I mean, we had like a dozen and a half assistant coaches who got fired yesterday.
Not nearly as sexy as the head coaching, but there are a lot of vacancies out there. There is a lot of jobs that are now available.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody who got fired yesterday, part of a staff who lost over the weekend. And that's the other thing, Mark. Staley didn't get fired. We thought that two coaches had to win to keep their jobs. Staley with the Chargers and McCarthy with the Cowboys. I mean, Mark, we may only have to replace 5 head coaches this year. That's a low number by NFL.
A really
standards.
low number.
Yeah.
And obviously, some of the long shots were Harbaugh and Bowles, and they're staying. So, I mean, these were guys that were at least talked about, rumored. Are they keeping their job? Would anything happen there?
So that's all. Just paying attention to the coaching carnage yesterday.
This is where the agate page was so good to us, David.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. And just in Tampa Bay, they're going to have to walk around with name tags. Mini camps and what have you, not just for the players. It's going to have to be for the coaches. Who are you again? Got it. Okay. Nice to meet you.
And what do you do? I'm the defensive court. I'm the offensive coordinator. Oh, okay.
Are you really, though? I mean, who's calling the shots here? Is no risk it, no biscuit back?
Oh, I think he actually lost power if that all happened. If 9 guys got fired, that means Arians doesn't have the say that he once had.
Well, and that Todd won the power struggle, no doubt.
Well, he had to.
I agree.
He's the head coach.
Yes.
Bruce needs to ride off into the sunset. He doesn't need to have an office there. He shouldn't be there. Obviously, that did not help having him around, having him on the field, having him at practice. None of those things worked. He needs to go away.
Be curious how long that contract still had remaining. Do you break the golf cart? Is that another thing? Like to send a message if you really want Bruce to go away. Do you do something with the golf cart? And then you don't repair it.
Maybe just a flat tire to let him know. Send a message, David. Miller and Moulton, the starting 5 on the other side right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, it's funny because the Dolphins could use a guy like Brian Flores right now.
Jay Gunn, what is interesting about hiring Flores is not the lawsuit. It's anybody interviewing him can just look at him and go, well, it's obvious that you didn't play well with others first time around. So why is it going to be different here? Never mind the fact that everybody associated with the Dolphins said that Flores was a negative influence on Tua. So is that who you want as the head coach with Kyler Murray? I mean, Flores, I think, has to sell an offensive coordinator with cred. And I don't know that he can get one. And then he has to convince people in charge that he's not going to be such a blankety blank. Now, I think I'll be shocked if he doesn't get a defensive coordinator job.
He interviewed for the Cardinals job before and apparently was, blew him away.
I think, by the way, the Steelers asked him not to take the Browns defensive coordinator job. I think Tomlin said to him, hey, dude, come on now. Nobody wanted to touch you. I gave you a gig. If you can, don't go to a division rival. If that's the only coordinator job you can get, fine. But, I'd prefer it if you went somewhere else.
Even the mic'd up moments between Brian Flores and Tua just felt awkward. I mean, I know that's a small sample size, but never felt like there was ever any kind of healthy relationship between head coach and quarterback. I love the grand entrance they give Ronaldo, despite him being so washed up. Penaldo. Australian Open has been amazing, by the way.
It usually is if you can watch it.
I caught Fritz, the American, losing yesterday. Oh my gosh, that was an unbelievable match. Went to the fifth set. 15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Pat Kirwan to join us at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. JP Shadrick 2 hours from now, Jags Radio Network, Westwood One. Right now it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
All right. Divisional playoffs get underway tomorrow afternoon in Kansas City. Chiefs a 9-point favorite on the Jags. Then tomorrow night in Philly, Eagles 7.5-point favorite against the Giants. It'll be their third meeting of the year. Philly won both matchups this season. Bills and Bengals. Money coming in on the Bills. They're now a 5.5-point favorite against the Bengals early Sunday afternoon. And the Niners, a 4-point favorite against the Cowboys. You know, those two franchises have a little playoff history.
Is this the 9th time they're meeting in the postseason?
If you go all the way back, the first time, by the way, that the Cowboys had one of those dramatic big game comebacks. You know, the Cowboys were known for losing the big game under Landry. And Staubach at Candlestick led them from a 28-13 fourth quarter deficit. And remember, they didn't have the 2-point conversion then. That's a 3-score fourth quarter deficit. And he led them from behind, and they beat John Brody and the Niners 30-28. And that began kind of like the Cowboys' mystique. And, you know, they're anyway. So, yes, they've got some playoff history. Never mind the catch. Never mind Aikman and the boys going in there 30 years ago. Tampa Bay fired offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich, and 8 other assistants are also not coming back. 5 of them fired, 3 retired. Dolphins said, hey, we can get in on the act. We fired defense coordinator Josh Boyer and 3 other assistants. Vikings fired their defensive coordinator, Ed Donatel. And the Ravens got offense coordinator Greg Roman to resign. Baltimore did go out of their way yesterday. Head coach, GM, owner, all spoke and said, yeah, we're all in on Lamar.
Right.
200%.
And we fired our offensive coordinator, Lamar, because apparently you didn't like him. That must have something to do with it. You wanted a change.
And they even said Lamar will have input in who the next offensive coordinator is. Of course, what they didn't say is that they're probably going to end up giving him a franchise tag because, negotiations have been difficult to say the least. They've only been negotiating for about a year. College football, Deion does it again. Last year, he took Travis Hunter, a 5-star cornerback, away from Florida State. This year, he takes 5-star cornerback from Lakeland, Cormani McClain, away from the Canes. What a secondary they're going to have in Colorado, because Hunter followed him from Jackson State to Colorado. A couple shutdown
quarters in college.
Right.
Change the way you can play defense in that game.
Speaking of Canes, former Miami quarterback Jake Garcia, he ends up transferring to Missouri. Fascinating transfer last night. Oklahoma State quarterback, like all Big 12 quarterback, Spencer Sanders, transferred to Ole Miss the day after Walker Howard left LSU for Ole Miss. And Ole Miss's starter still has 1 more year of eligibility. Huh. Sure, Walker Howard shouldn't have transferred to Florida?
No kidding.
Man,
What's going on with that Gator Collective, for crying out loud?
tell you. Mark, it's called the College Athlete Protection Act.
Oh, yes.
CAPA.
Uh-huh.
A California lawmaker introduced a bill yesterday. It would create a fund that would pay players in revenue-generating sports. So football and basketball, most likely. Maybe baseball. We'll see. And softball. Maybe. It would pay players a share of the revenue. But that revenue would be put in a trust. And then it would be given to the players upon completion of getting their degree. It'll be interesting if it passes. It'll be interesting if the athletes even want it. NBA. Do you know they played a game in Paris yesterday?
Yeah, the Pistons and the Bulls, right?
Right. You know, we really, if we're going to play these international games, we should not send our crappy teams. And the Pistons, until
Are a
proven
crappy
otherwise,
team.
are a crappy team.
It happens every year. The
I
Heat
know.
and the Spurs played in Mexico.
Yeah,
You
I
got
understand,
this
but it's the
thing.
Heat and the Spurs.
The Heat are a good team. The Spurs have to have, with their dominance over the years, have to have a following in Mexico, being a San Antonio team. Sending the Detroit Pistons, and one of their players, I don't even know if made the trip because he had passport problem, lost his passport the day of the flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was not anybody that mattered, but it just was another nice story about paying attention.
Apparently, the NBA says they're going back next year. Okay. By the way, Bulls won by 18. A good one last night in Boston. Rematch of the finals. Boston came back from 7 down in the fourth, hit a late 3, beat Golden State in overtime, 121-118.
You know, Boston, I watched good chunks of that game. Boston didn't even seem interested for large chunks of that game and still won.
Minnesota had Toronto by 2, Phoenix over Brooklyn by 5, Philly won in Portland 105-95. I don't want to go too far down this road, but if you're Lillard, don't you have to request the trade now? Like, you gave this regime a year and a half. You did. You said, okay, I'll give you guys a chance. You're going to retool this sucker. All right. I'll play it out. And if you put a good team around me, that'll be great. I'll stay. I'll finish my career here. It's been a year and a half. They're not a good team. I think if you're Lillard, you got to say, you know what? You just trade me. I'm the all-time leading scorer in franchise history. Just get me out of here. Didn't mention it yesterday. That's on me. My bad. Chris Ford passed away at the age of 74. Standout at Villanova. He was a Celtic throughout much of the 70s, was on the 81 championship team, longtime assistant, was their head coach, kind of the post-Bird era head coach. Also was the head coach at 2 other places. Chris Ford was 74. College hoops. Gonzaga lost at home. That hadn't happened in a while. They had won 75 home games in a row. Loyola Marymount came to town, hit a runner in the lane with 13 seconds to go, got a stop and a win, 68-67. Good for them. FAU, nationally ranked. First game nationally ranked. Whooped up on UTSA on the road, beat them by 19. FGCU, a winner at home by 4. Stetson, Mark, you noticed that Stetson, who up until a few days ago was undefeated in conference play, they were home for Kennesaw State. And right before the end of the show yesterday, you went, how come they're only a 1-point favorite? And I'm like, it's the best Kennesaw State team in a long time. Owls went in, won in overtime in DeLand, 82-81. They're tied with Liberty atop the A-Sun. North Florida winner at home. Jacksonville a loser at home to Liberty. FIU lost by 20 at UTEP. Women's hoops, the winners were FAU, FIU, FGCU, and FSU. Your losers were Miami, Florida, Stetson, and North Florida. NHL, I'm running on adrenaline. I watched Tampa Bay and Edmonton. Connor McDavid with the game winner in the third. Oilers over the Lightning 5-3. Stamkos did get his 22nd. Braden Point his 27th in the loss. Entertaining hockey.
It was.
That's all I got to say. Entertaining hockey. Panthers scored 5 goals in the second period, and 4 of them were on the power play.
We said it during the show. These are games the Panthers look like they're starting to get their act together, starting to make a run for the playoffs. They're a better team than what their record was, and now they're starting to win the games they're supposed to.
We said the play of the night was the Bruins, best team in the league, a slight underdog at Madison Square Garden. Seriously? Please. Bruins have owned the Rangers. For 50 years, they've owned the Rangers. 3-1 Boston. They're 36-5-4. 45 games, they've lost 5 in regulation. Think about that. Once every 9 games, they get beat. Please. Unbelievable. Devils, good thing Seth's not on the show. Devils lost in overtime to the Kraken, who, Mark, have equaled their win total from last year. They've played 45 games.
Right. What a story. I mean, we had Vegas in their inaugural season do the unexpected. And so people had expectations of the Kraken that were unrealistic. But what they've done this year is unbelievably surprising and success for the Kraken. They deserve a lot of credit for what the GM's done there. Francis getting the job done, and everybody bought in.
And they have the best broadcast team in the league, too. John Forsland and Eddie Olchuk. People in Seattle are loving their hockey, and they're getting educated on it, too, and they love it. And the Mariners are good. The Seahawks had a season no one saw coming. You got a bunch of happy people in the Northwest.
They'd still rather have an NBA team.
Well, that is true. That is true. Okay, but, these guys are filling the void until then. Golf, Davis Thompson shot a 10 under 62. He has a 2-shot lead over 4 other golfers. One of them is John Rahm. It's at La Quinta in the American Express tournament. LPGA season opening tournament of champions at Lake Nona near Orlando. Brooke Henderson with a 500 par round as a 1-shot lead over Nelly Korda. Australian Open. 35-year-old Andy Murray down 2 sets. Match started at 10 o'clock at night, went until after 4 a.m.
6-hour plus match for Andy Murray. Unreal.
35-year-old, he's got a fake hip, down 2 sets, 11th time in his career. He's come back from a 2-set-to-love deficit to win a match. He advances to the 3rd round. Remember Mackenzie McDonald, the guy who beat Nadal?
Right.
Yeah, he lost 2nd round. Women's side, 10th seed Madison Keys was upset. So was the 2nd seed Jabeur. Meanwhile, Americans Jessica Pegula, Coco Gauff, and Danielle Collins all advanced. They're seeded 3rd, 7th, and 13th, respectively. Tiafoe, the American male, was down 2 sets when this show started. I probably should have looked that up, updated that result. And that was... We lose Felipe again?
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Tiafoe lost in 4 sets, David.
Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate that. Won the 3rd set 6-3 and then lost in a tiebreaker in the 4th.
There you go. He was seeded, I think, 18th. An American seeded player losing in the Australian. It's been a good Australian for the American men, but that's a disappointing result. So there you have it. And Felipe, I don't know if you saw it in our Twitch chat room, but Chris Ford, all right, who passed away earlier this week, was the first NBA player to hit a 3-pointer.
They showed the shot last night on the broadcast of the Celtics Warriors game. And it is just staggering that it's not that long ago and how bad the video is.
1979, no? I believe so.
I'm not as sure exactly. That sounds about right.
Might
And
as
that-
well have been 1939 looking at the video. That's all I'm saying. It is just amazing of all the things, and it's not, this isn't old guy on the porch. This is why it makes no sense to go to a game anymore. It's so great. When you start watching that and you go back from us watching little TVs in black and white, we're old enough that we watch sports in black and white, to getting the first big console TV, and now everybody's got an HD screen. I don't know how the hell we watched sports before this. I think, Felipe, you're in the golden age of watching sports on your couch.
Oh, 100%.
Listen, you and I have marveled for a while. We're surprised the NFL's still selling out games, honestly. Between the cost of parking, the cost of everything, the traffic, how great it is sitting at home. You and I have thought for a long time that the NFL was going to have problems selling tickets. Just another thing Miller and Moulton have been wrong about. Pat Kirwan's next.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida, over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, Pat. Pat, you there? He must have walked away. Careful dragging that microphone across the table.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
My bad. My bad.
Well, Pat's there, but he's not there.
Well, he's doing stuff.
He must have connected and set his stuff down.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I
Yes,
got
sir.
you.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys talk about tennis. That's why I turned it off.
I don't blame you.
That's for you, David. The 18th seed at the Australian Open just doesn't move me on.
I understand. I understand.
And it shouldn't move you either.
Well, that's our little sports center segment, if you will. Our 6:30 segment's basically a recap of everything that happened yesterday in the sports world.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm impressed with how much enthusiasm David brings to that tennis.
No. He loves the Australian Open. I love tennis. I'm a tennis fan. I like Wimbledon. I like the U.S. Open, but David loves the Australian Open, and
it was clear to me. He went through that with great passion. I was like,
Pat, growing up where you and I grew up, during the tennis heyday of the 70s and the 80s, I have an affection for, like, one of the greatest days of my life. The Giants played the Cowboys in '84 at 1:00, beat them. I was there. They had the game wrapped up, and then I got in the car and went over and snuck in to McEnroe-Lendl for the beginning of the second set, and it was McEnroe's last major that he won.
Oh, yeah. That is great. That was wild times with Connor and those guys.
Yep.
Do you remember when, I think it was McEnroe, they had to land a plane in Cold Spring Harbor, a jet coming from South America, and they all waded into McEnroe's yard. The people get out of the plane. Cold Spring Harbor is like a 4-mile long strip of water, and they dropped the plane in there. They had run out of gas. And as they got the people out, and there they were on McEnroe's front lawn.
10 seconds.
Tennis, anyone?
Here we go, guys.
Hey, Felipe, how are you, man?
I'm doing well.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan joining us once again. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today Show. Pat joining us, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between, some of them battered and bruised, but Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Is this your favorite weekend? Is it last weekend? Is it next weekend? Which NFL weekend's your favorite weekend?
This one. I know Super Wild Card was really exciting. Not for me. No, this is it. We're down to it, and there's a lot of look. I spent a lot of time studying teams that make the playoffs and what's the common threads. If you're building a football team, you should be studying these teams. How do they get there? What are the common traits of them? So one of them, which is true for 6 of the 8 teams, is their quarterbacks played all 17 games. And you start thinking about that. And when you don't have them play for all, that's why I admire what's gone on with the 49ers. But look at the AFC playoffs. I think all 4 guys played every game. And so there's things I look at. Trades. How many guys went out and did stuff? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. Who went out and tried to get impact players for the run, which is always one of David's favorite subjects. And most of these teams did. They went out, and Philadelphia clearly went out and fixed defensive line issues. And then we know what would happen in San Francisco, getting McCaffrey, et cetera. So I think you got to start looking at that. And you have to be ready to play rookies. These things are all almost in conflict, but that's how teams get here. Rookies that can play, trades in the middle of the season, quarterbacks that are healthy. So you think about Miami looking at traits. Do they have a quarterback they believe can stay healthy? Because without that, you're going to end up falling apart most of the time. And really in Philadelphia, Hurts played most of the time. At the end, they were just being cautious with him. And they might still be cautious because he hasn't convinced me he can run yet. I asked Alex Anzalone yesterday because Detroit played the 3 NFC East teams that are alive, and they also played Buffalo and Jacksonville. And I asked him, I said, who was the hardest quarterback for you to deal with? And he said, Hurts, followed by Allen. And then I stopped and said, do you think Hurts is still the same guy? He goes, no, I don't know about that. He might not be, but Allen sure is still the same guy. So those are the things I like to talk about.
All right. If Hurts is not the same guy, how much of a factor is it against the Giants? I mean, this is still a Cinderella run by the Giants. It's not a great roster. Does Hurts have to be the Hurts before the injury to get through the Giants?
I think he's such a dimension to their success that if the Giants conclude early in the game that he's not going to be taken off and doing what he does, they're going to switch their defensive calls. They're not going to assign people to him until he hurts them. And if you watch that last game, people quickly, he was just being cautious so he didn't get hurt. I don't know that he can cross the line of scrimmage like he has. And we're going to find out early. But I remember like when Terrell Owens was in the Super Bowl for Philadelphia, once they figured out he wasn't going anywhere deep, they let him catch 12 balls. It didn't matter. And everyone loved for the courage he possessed, but they stopped worrying about him. He was singled up before he was injured. He was always doubled up. So I think they assess these things quickly in the games, and I'm waiting to find out. If Hurts wants to convince me he's ready to run, I'd like to see him take off in the first quarter early and scare the daylights out of the Giants. But if he doesn't, the Giants got a chance here.
Can the Giants stop the Eagles' passing game, though? I mean, the Eagles, see, that's the thing. The Giants' secondary is not a good coverage secondary, and the Eagles have 2 number ones. They got a tight end. Unless Hurts is bad, I don't see how the Giants can slow them down.
Well, I know they can't. You know they can't. Mark knows they can't. So the guy who runs the defense for the Giants, his instincts are blow up the quarterback. You might get hit for some big chunks early, but he's going to go after the quarterback and try to tag him. Because if the ball gets out of his hand in air, you're right. The Giants won't be able to stop those guys.
The other side of it, do the Giants have anything for Philly defensively? I mean, I know Barkley can run the ball, and I know that Daniel Jones has an element of run, but this is a good Eagles defense. What do you see on that side, Pat?
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about their good Eagle defense, which I agree with, is that I wouldn't even call it a weak spot, Mark, but their mediocrity is in run defense. Their mediocrity is right there. So it's only going to tell the Giants, do what you do. This is what got you here. We're even better at it now than we ever were, especially with Jones. So they're just going to try to run their way into a close game, and hopefully in the fourth quarter, they're a score away or a score ahead. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm taking Philadelphia, but do I think the game is close? Yeah, I do.
Giants unheralded receiving core against Slay and Bradbury. On paper, it's a huge advantage for Philadelphia. We did have Rob Ellis, though, Pat, from Philadelphia yesterday say that Slay in the second half of the year was playing off reputation, that he actually did not have a good final 2 months of the season. I don't know if the Giants receivers can take advantage of that, though.
The only thing I'd say about it is that the Eagles are going to have to add someone to the run defense and put those corners more on islands than they probably want to. Because if you don't have this thing marked up to handle Daniel Jones, the runner, and of course Barkley, so at least the safety's in there all the time, and that just puts corners on. I don't care if they call it cover 3 or cover 1. When those receivers go running vertically down the field, it is man to man. So that's where there could be an advantage.
And Mark, we were talking yesterday with Rob Ellis and Pat. You know how Fournette got the nickname Playoff Lenny?
Yeah.
Well, you could say it Playoff Ndamukong also, because since 2018, Ndamukong Suh has been a man in the postseason.
Well, it's a nice short season for him. He loves short seasons at his age. It's a 3 or 4 game season. And you know what? He knows he can make the same amount of money by playing 4 good games versus 17 good games.
He's figured it out. There's no doubt about it. That is a very smart man right there. All right, Chiefs and Jags. Saw a stat that said the Chiefs gave up more than 100 yards rushing in 2 of their 3 losses and in 7 of their 10 one-possession games. So it seems to me that if the Jags have any way of success in this thing, Travis Etienne has to have a big game.
I think so. Well, you know, therein lies the problem. How much can you give them the ball? Because if they get down by 10 points, they're going to forget that formula. They're going to have to stay up with these guys. I admire what Jacksonville's done. And to get this far is awesome. And it confirms that they picked the right quarterback and everything else. But this is way, way over their head. Way over their head. And Trevor on the road, we all know what he is. He's got 4 wins and like 13, 15 losses or something. It was a great story. I think they'll be throwing some punches early. I don't think he's thrown 4 interceptions. I will say this about Buffalo and Jacksonville. They both won sloppy last week. Neither one of them will win if they play sloppy again.
Is there something about the Chiefs that you don't like? Like, is there a weakness to the Chiefs, or are they like the Eagles, in which you look at them and go, I don't see a weakness. Maybe here is a soft spot. Or do you look at the Chiefs and say, no, they have a weakness and here it is?
Well, I think the defense is inconsistent. I did talk to, Spags this week. Look, they have to hustle and scheme up their defense. We've been talking about Spags since the Giant Super Bowls. And what do we know about Spags' defense? They get better as the year goes on. They start out slow. There's a lot of scheme to it. There's a lot of timing up stuff. But as they get into December and into the postseason, they're pretty much, red hot and cooking. So they still have some issues there. I don't know if their pass rush is great. He's always manufacturing pass rush. Frank Clark, he didn't practice much this week, and he's not really who he used to be. He's a 5 or 6 sack guy. So it's Chris Jones. And you know where Chris Jones is, and you double him. You got to run all the protection to him, which should free up the outside guys. But I do worry a little bit about that part of their defense, that front and the way they play. But they get so many points from the offense that they can hide a couple of things, really.
And the Jags has one of the worst pass defenses in the league, so I don't think that bodes well for Jacksonville. I mean, Mahomes should be able, Pat, to pick them apart. I mean, this is a game that do you see any way for, don't the Jags have to get to at least 28 to have a shot, and probably higher than that?
Well, maybe this will answer that question and every other question. I wouldn't take the Jags with 14 points.
Whoa. I guess we know.
I knew that would answer every other question.
Yeah.
That did.
Yeah. Okay, then. All righty, then. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. As we just went through the 2 Saturday games, he likes KC big and Philly, I think, modestly. Usually a road team wins this week. Usually home teams go 3-1. Okay, we'll get into the 2 Sunday games in greater detail next segment, but gut feeling, Bengals or Cowboys, which one is the better shot?
The Bengals. And I know they're missing 3 offensive linemen, which is scary enough in its own right. And if you look at the backups, you get even more afraid of the situation. But I look at Burrow with those 3 receivers and his ice water in his veins. He's going to manipulate that stuff and get the ball out of his hand. He will be sacked 3 or 4 times. But I said this the other day. You look at him when he's sacked 4 times or less, 4 times, and his record is ridiculous. It's the 5th sack where things break down for him. And if they can get to him 5, 6, 7 times, then you're going to beat him. If you can only get to him 4 times, he's going to beat you. So I like their chances the best. And look, Burrow beat Mahomes 3 straight times. He does not fear Josh Allen and those guys.
Interesting, in the first 8 for Cincinnati, they were 4-4. The sacks against were a little under 4 per game. Then the next 8 games, it was like 1.75. Obviously, we know what the Bengals did there, but you say the number's 5 for Burrow that you can pay attention to.
5 or more sacks, his record is 1-7. 4 or less sacks, his record's 22-4.
Seems to be a line of demarcation there, guys.
we look for where the line is, and that's the line.
Bills, by the way, a 5.5-point favorite over the Bengals. The Niners.
That started out as a 3-point spread, and it's up to 5 with, I think, because of the linemen.
And the Niners a 4-point home favorite against the Cowboys. We will get into the Bills and Bengals in a little more detail. And we will talk Niners and Cowboys, and also some of what went on in the league yesterday, which is basically, if you were an assistant coach, don't answer your phone. Don't show up for work. You're an endangered species. We'll talk to Pat about what turned out to be Black Thursday around the NFL. Coming up next, more with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. Joining us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You play yesterday, Mark?
No, we're packed with times. I didn't, and I don't usually play on Thursdays anyhow. But I actually was taking a potential client to look at houses yesterday.
Oh, good.
Yes,
it was a beautiful day. That's why I asked you.
Oh, it was, man.
It's nice. I don't get out there as much as I want, but I got out yesterday, and it was beautiful out there.
Well, your time's coming now. Football's almost over. You can get a few more.
Yeah. Yep. My two favorite guys that I play with, they play Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. I'm just hoping to jump into that schedule somewhere along the line here.
Yeah, I try to play Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, but we're so packed. You know, everybody that left our course and moved were all old social members and all being replaced by full golfing members. So we're up against it. I got bumped twice this week.
Yeah, well, that is kind of going on here.
Yeah, welcome to season.
I played, this is ridiculous, this place. They have 35 guys on the wait list, and to get on the wait list, they had to pay $35,000 each.
Oh, my God.
To get on the wait list.
What's the number there now?
100,000. But here's the crazy part. So the one guy I play with, once in a while. But I saw him. I didn't play with him yesterday. I saw him. He's on the wait list. Paid $35,000. His house got destroyed, and he can't even stay here. He's staying with his sister or something down in Naples, and he just came up to play. And they came to him yesterday and said, "Your number's up. You can go. You give us the rest of the money." And he said, "Can I postpone it till next year? I don't have a house. My house has been destroyed, and I'll be fine next year when we get the place done." But they haven't even started work on it. And they said, "Nope, pay now or you go back to the bottom of the line."
I'm not surprised.
So, and I remember the days they didn't have a waiting list. And
Right.
come on, the arrogance of that pisses me off.
Well, and that's part. You guys are true now too.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens if West Bay's still running it, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Well, and those guys, I will say they beefed up the waiting list and they got the price up to $100,000.
Ours is up to 40, which is stunning to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't you think, though, if somebody, and I understand he doesn't have it liquid, but if he has that kind of money, don't you think he could go to a bank and get it?
Oh, yeah. He just doesn't want to do it because he doesn't have a house.
I understand that.
Yeah, he has the money. He just said, "I'm not going to be here this whole season. I'm here today. I'm on a 1 week with my sister, and I'm going back." And he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And if he goes to the bottom of the list, now they're trying to get people to sell. That's my favorite thing. I get a little notice every week.
Uh-huh.
If you want to sell out, we can pay you. And the way it turns out is if you sell out, you don't have to pay your dues for 2 years, which is now if you put your name on the list to get out, you have to pay your dues for 2 years and then you're out, and then you can get reimbursed on whatever the fee is at the time. They'll let you go now. You don't have to pay anything, and they give you 60% of whatever they're selling them for. But they will not go over, I think it's $295 on members.
Yeah, we're like 370.
Well, they're building a new tower here sooner or later, and they've sold out most of the units. And they only have 12 golf memberships that go with the tower. So they need like 25 more. And they're trying like crazy. And I said, "Look, it's natural attrition. There's a lot of old guys here. They're going to die. You'll get them back that way." Crazy. But I think they soon forget how things were when it wasn't good.
I know.
It's for me, I like golf a lot. I like playing, but it's really impossible to justify. Complete waste of money.
There's so much FU money out there right now. It's just scary.
Yeah. And well, you're in real estate. The houses are still going up.
They're not going up anymore. They've stabilized, but they're not going down, Pat.
Here we go, guys.
I don't know how young people could ever move in down here.
Got that right.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Do you think that the Bills-Bengals game is as simple as can Cincy protect Burrow? If so, they're going to win. If not, they're going to lose. Or do you think that there's a component on the other side? Like, to me, Pat, for the Bills to be one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league, which they clearly are, and to have 5 games this year in which they've turned it over 3 times or more, and I think the playoff game might have actually make it 6. I mean, to think that 1 out of every 3 times they play, they're going to commit 3 turnovers. And that's stunning.
Well, Josh is a wild man, and he has taken this team on his shoulders, and he takes a lot of risks. So in the last 3 weeks, it's 5 interceptions, a lost fumble, and 15 sacks. So when you ask the question, is there another component besides blocking for Burrow? Yeah, it's Josh. You can't, against Joe Burrow, give the ball back to the Bengals 3 times in this game. You give Joe Burrow a short field, bad line or not, he's going to find his way into the end zone at least one of those, maybe twice. So I think Josh has got to control. But if you really watch them, you know what here's how I described them yesterday. He throws deep, and he's his own check down. He doesn't throw check downs, he runs. So it's been fairly effective. But Lou Anarumo and those guys, they will have a great sense of how to play this. There's a lot of confidence there. They have Lou and I talk quite a bit. I coached against them back in the college days, and I've known them forever. But they got a 3-man rush package where the 2 ends, really outside line, they'll drop off. They're not dropping into coverage. They're dropping into radar, which is like, we're going to play man 2 deep behind here so he can't see anyone open. He's going to run, and I'm going to have my 2 guys. So it's a 2-man spy system. And I bet you see a lot of that in this game. Because what's Josh going to do? He will put the team on his back and try to run his way to victory, and he's good at it. These 2 teams are 17-2 since November 1st. And both of them are on long winning streaks, 8 and 9 game winning streaks. So there's a lot of reward for the way they play. They both think what I do is good enough to win this game. And what does Josh do? Takes a lot of chances and runs with the ball and throws a lot of deep balls. Most deep balls in the league, right? 13 times in the last week. You know, he's Darryl LaMonica for you old guys out there, the Mad Bomber.
Ah, the Mad Bomber.
That's who he's turning into.
All right. We all know about the line for the Bengals all banged up, but Buffalo, they lost Von Miller. How is the pass rush for Buffalo? And even with this bad line, do you expect, you said he'll get sacked, but 5's the number. Do you think the line can hold up and Burrow can hold up? Because he likes to stand back there and he's not afraid to take a hit.
Yeah, he's not afraid, and he takes hits all the time, and he's as physical as the guy hitting them most of the time. So I think what we see all the time is their answer since Von Miller went out. I've said it on this show 3 weeks in a row, is Matt Milano blitz. He is he's Teddy Bruschi. He's a guy, we used to call him jokers. You don't know what he's doing. Is he rushing? Is he scraping? Is he dropping? Is he playing man-to-man? He can do it all, and he's their blitz answer when pressure's not there. Now, they will get some good inside pressure, Mark. Some of the guys they line up inside are pretty darn good. And the people that are lining up inside, here's a couple things. These are the backup linemen for this game. If one guy goes down for Cincinnati, here they are. Deontay Smith, 6 plays this year. Here's the next one. Jackson, Carmen, 4 plays this year. Trey Hill, 7 plays this year. And Isaiah Prince didn't play this year. That's where they've got to go if one more injury happens. And so it's kind of scary looking, but I think they'll get inside pressure and they'll make a move around. I don't understand sometimes why they don't have a full-blown check down game. David's great at this stuff. Go look at how many times he's throwing to those backs on check down release stuff. Even Dawson Knox is not doing that. Dawson Knox is running vertically all the time. So play soft coverage. You know, I think Josh has enough. If the line was healthy, I would take Cincinnati in this game. They're not healthy, so I can't take them.
It's amazing Matt Milano didn't make the Pro Bowl, because I actually think he should be on the short list for Defensive Player of the Year, that he's had that good of a season. All right. In our remaining moments, Cowboys, Niners, we could regale in all the playoff nostalgia, great games, early 70s, early 80s, the 3 times they played in a row in the NFC title game, 92 through 94. Can this Dallas team, and these 2 teams played each other last year, Pat, for whatever it's worth, I think that's good for the Cowboys. Their defense got a chance to face this system and the different angles that the running attack comes at you from. I think it will help them be a lot more competitive Sunday than if they didn't play them last year. But your thoughts on Cowboys-Niners?
Yeah, you described it well. Obviously, San Francisco on the 11-game winning streak, and Brock Purdy is not a backup. Brock Purdy is a star in the making. I talked to Stephen Jones yesterday about multiple things, and one of them was the kicker, so I'll address that first. He said, look, we were never going to get rid of our kicker. Yeah, we have one on the practice squad. We believe in this guy. He's won games for us. He had a nice week in practice. that whole ball marker thing. He said, I'm on the competition committee. I was really unaware that you can't put a blade of grass down as a ball mark, which they claim is part of the effect he had. He told me, and you can tell me, and I don't even know if I agree with him, when he said that was the best game Dak Prescott has ever played in his career. So what I did say to you guys last week was they never lost 2 in a row, and every time they lost, they beat someone up the next week, and they beat up good teams. Philadelphia, they put 40 on Philly. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Detroit, who was starting to get hot. They beat Minnesota. And they came off a loss that we all worried about Dallas, and they just beat Tampa Bay. So they rebounded. Now the rebound effect's over. Now they got to be consistent. They got enough to beat San Francisco. But I don't believe that they're going to stop that run. I talked to Van Der Esch, too. He was terrific on the show, just talking about run defense. I said, what's the most important thing in your life right now? He goes, run defense. They know. If they can get San Francisco to have to pass, they'll beat them because they can rush the passer. If they can't stop the run and it's 3rd and 2 all the time, they're going to lose. And I don't know, Brock Purdy for president, man, that guy is something.
How do you stop? Is there a way to stop this run? I mean, how
you got to
do
overplay the run. You got to say what you want to bounce the head coach, Kyle, but that guy understands run blocking schemes, and he's got it. And the first thing Stephen Jones said when I asked him about their run game was, he goes, they know how to get out on the perimeter better than anybody. So what's that tell you? They've been working like crazy with their contained players, understanding this guy, they know how to get outside of you. They have all kinds of outside angle blocking schemes, and they can do it. I would give Dallas a fighter's chance in this game just off how they played. But when I just stop and watch San Francisco, I'll ask David the question he asked me, and you can answer it too, Mark. Where is San Francisco's weakness? What one thing do you worry about with them? Because I can't find it.
The quarterback. If you got to put it in his hands, it's still an unknown, Pat.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know what we're looking at here. I can't remember historically a guy like this that just came into the league and he's tearing it up and he's throwing touchdown passes. He's so cool under pressure. Now, this game's at home. Boy, does that help Brock Purdy. You know, if he had to go out on the road, which he's going to have to next week, if they have to go to Philadelphia, if it works out that way. But at home, I'm going to bet on the guy. I'm just going to bet that he is cool under pressure. But if without the run game, maybe it's different. I talked to Dan Quinn as much as possible, and they are excited to slow the run down so they can rush the passer.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains weekdays 3 to 7, and he'll be a part of CBS's NFL Today show on Sunday. Pat joins us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, from Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, thank you so much. All the best. We'll talk again next week when we're down to the Final Four. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online FLGolfCarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Are you getting cooperation from Collier County to do affordable housing projects? And if so, where are they? Are they East Naples? Because, for instance, like, Felipe, I have no idea how you stay in Southwest Florida, in all honesty. It's so costly.
I'm not even kidding. I was just talking about that with like an older gentleman at a bar yesterday.
Yeah, it's and that I think is, but I don't think the area is interested. I think the area just thinks, it's okay. Young people leave, we'll get middle-aged and older people to move down. That's fine.
You know what I do is I move in the park.
You what?
Is that where you're going next year? Try to find a house in the park?
Yeah. It's really the only, I mean, I don't want to go to Lehigh.
Nope.
It's too,
that's what it is.
It's too far. Is it a fallout option? Yes. But where I'm looking is
it's Golden Gate. I mean, for people in Collier County, it's Golden Gate. And then you have Lehigh and a little bit of Bonita and San Carlos Park in Collier. And then you have to go really north.
Mm-hmm. But the park, I mean.
Oh, no. It's for location. It's certainly the best.
Oh, 100%. I don't mind. I mean, whatever, you have your park shenanigans. Tomfoolery.
Look at you going all tomfoolery.
And what am I going to do? Move back to Miami where it's even worse?
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
It's sad because I feel old knowing what Miami used to be like when I was like younger. It's just so different now.
Oh yeah, what they're getting for apartments in and around FGCU is staggering.
What do you pay a month for your total apartment?
We split it like indifferently, but the total is $2,700.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
So, just for point of reference, my son, who lives in Greenville, North Carolina, I think he's paying $1,800 a month. Oh. 3-bedroom, same thing. There's 3 of them.
3-bedroom, 2-bath.
3-bedroom, 2-bath. And I think he pays $1,800. That includes most of his utilities. I think he said he's about $650 for everything all month.
Oh. Damn.
When I moved to Fort Myers in late '99, I lived at what was then, I don't know if it's still called the Polos. It's right behind Val Ward. And we had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment with a lanai for $800 a month.
My dad's was $9 for a 2-bedroom. That was the most he paid. I think $9. I think maybe got to like $1,100 by the time he was done.
3 years later, when we moved into a house, we were paying $850 a month.
Well, I mean, think about it. I bought that house in Bonita Well, right after right when it started ticking back up, I think I paid $109,000 for it.
Oh
So-
my gosh.
Sold it for $375, and now you couldn't touch it for under $4
Mm-hmm.
for a 3-2 house in Bonita Springs, for a 3-2 ranch, for a starter home.
15 seconds. You sold any houses yesterday?
No.
Oh.
Just starting looking.
There you go.
I'm not too worried.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hey, earlier in the show, I said I got some numbers for you. Is it okay if now's the time when I give you some of the numbers?
I like numbers.
Okay, good. First off, let's go back 4+ months, just for you-know-what, giggles. Bills were 6-1 to win the Super Bowl. Chiefs were 11-1. Niners 16-1. Bengals and Cowboys each 20-1. That Bengals bet, it's not a bad bet. Team loses the Super Bowl.
Right.
Although there's that thing about team that loses the Super Bowl oftentimes has a really bad next year. The Chiefs and the Bengals now back to back have kind of thrown that out the window. So 6-1, 11-1, 16-1, 2 20-1s. Eagles were 25-1. Now we did say at 25-1, we did not think they would win the Super Bowl, but we were looking at what we thought were bargains and good deals, because you and I both thought the Eagles would win the East.
Right. We both picked them to win the division. Both had them winning a playoff game. So it's not outlandish that we had the Eagles as a value bet.
Right. We both said, hey, this team might be worth a shekel or two. Giants and Jags. Giants 100-1. Jags 150-1.
I think 200-1 are the highest numbers they put on the board for that. I mean, the Jags were not far off to having some of the longest odds you can have to win.
Texans had the longest, but just so, to now you look at them, we all know, what the Giants and Jags have done. They've come from nowhere. Well, let's put nowhere into numbers. All right. The team that's playing at 4:30 tomorrow was 150-1 to win the Super Bowl. Technically, they're 3 wins away.
And Pat has them getting blown out.
Yes. Yeah. Don't even bother watching. All right. Just make sure you're in your seat for the night game. He thinks it'll be quasi-competitive, but the Eagles should be fine.
I can just tell you right now, Felipe, to have that queued up in the event that Jacksonville wins. We will play that back to Pat on Tuesday. If the unthinkable happens and the Jags go into Kansas City and win.
Oh, please.
4 of the 8 remaining teams were above 500 against the number, for those of you that are into that sort of thing. The Giants, a pretty remarkable 14-4 against the spread. 14-4. Bengals 12-5. Oh, by the way. Giants getting 7.5. Bengals getting 5.5. 49ers and Cowboys, Mark, almost identical. Niners 12-6 against the number, Cowboys 11-7. So, place your bet on Niners -4, follow your gut or what have you. The numbers basically say they're both they're a good play. Jags and Eagles right around 500. Bills and Chiefs below 500. So there you have it. Jacksonville has a winning record outright when they've been an underdog this year, because they've been an underdog in all but like 4 or 5 games. They're actually 8-5 straight up as an underdog. Chiefs, this is their 14th straight playoff game that they're favored in. including every single playoff game that Patrick Mahomes has played in. And he is still yet to play a road game. I mean, the closest he's come was when he played the Bucs in the Super Bowl and there were 20,000 people in the stands. But the Chiefs with Mahomes at quarterback have yet to have to play a road game. And obviously, they're not going to play a road game in this year's playoffs.
Funny you bring that up, David, because we did get a text during Pat's interview that says the Buffalo Bills are getting hosed for not playing that game. Sure, they'll get a neutral field for the championship game. What kind of deal is that? They should be playing the Jags this weekend, and Kansas City should be playing Cincinnati. The arrangement they made sucks.
Well, I'm assuming that person's a Bills fan. Sir, I would argue that the Bills actually benefited more than the Chiefs and the Bengals from what the NFL did. And hear me out. Bills could have lost that game in Cincinnati. And if so, they would have been a 3 seed. So they'd be on the road this week, and they'd certainly be on the road because nobody thinks the Jags are going into Kansas City. Instead, what did they get? They get a home game and a neutral site game. Meanwhile, look at the Chiefs. If the Bills had lost in Cincinnati, Chiefs are home for the AFC Championship game against Buffalo. Now they're going to have to play them on a neutral field?
David, he says the arrangement they made sucks. I'm sorry, sir. The arrangement they made benefited them.
Yes.
If they would have done what was on the rule book, they would have been playing a road game in Kansas City. At the very least, they would have played it by winning percentage. That's what's on the books. So they arranged this for Buffalo.
And the team that I think, and also Buffalo got to play Skylar Thompson in Miami in the first round as the 2. I mean, with the way the Bills played last week, you sure you get out of there if the Ravens were your opponent in a 3-6 game? You sure?
I kind of want to see the neutral site game too. I mean, that's like historic. And it does kind of feel like a college football playoff.
Well, I know that will be fascinating if it happens. We'll have a bowl game for the AFC Championship.
Yes.
Here's the irony. Though. At the national championship game, what could you not do? Tailgate. Now they're going to play the AFC Championship game potentially in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Where they believe in tailgating maybe more than most things.
Right. The only downside is the Chick-fil-A stands will be closed at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's the only thing.
Well, and
Good
I believe
point.
they'll have to learn to buy their beer on Saturday night because I don't know if George's, when I lived there, you couldn't buy booze on Sunday, or at least until noon. Oh, it was a Saturday night tradition to make your stop on the way home so you had beer for Sunday.
Listen, Mark, I'm with Pat. I really don't think the Giants match up well. But let me just give you these numbers here. Mentioned 14-4 against the spread. 11-2, by the way, as an underdog. And they've won 7 of those games straight up. All right. Giants are 8-1 against the spread on the road this season with 5 straight covers. Daniel Jones in his career on the road. Remember, he's played on 3 bad teams before this. 19-7 against the number on the road. The Giants have covered 10 straight games on short rest, including 3 of them this year. The playoff numbers for the Giants are ridiculous. You know, Eli was a road warrior. He only played 1 home playoff game during their 2 Super Bowl runs. So the Giants, you know, if you want to go playoffs, their playoff against the spread numbers and straight up numbers are ridiculous. The Eagles, all right, as a playoff favorite. They haven't won a playoff game as a playoff favorite since the middle of the 2000s. Last 4 times they've been a playoff favorite, they've lost. Straight up. I'm not talking against a number. I'm just straight up. All right. 3rd meeting between the 2. Eagles won in Jersey 48-22. That game went over and they covered. And then last game of the regular season, Eagles didn't cover. The number was 17. They won by 6, and the game went under. So Eagles 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games, and we're below 500 against the number this year. But they've beaten the Giants 9 straight times at home, 9 in a row. However, the Giants have covered 5 of the last 6 despite losing. You ready for this, Mark? For both the Chiefs and the Eagles on Saturday. Since 2006, against the spread, the number 1 seed has been favored by 7 or more points 14 times. 14 times the 1 seed's been favored by 7 or more. You know how many of those games they've covered?
Less than 50%.
4. So
the numbers tell you to take the points in both games on Saturday.
Right,
They do.
The numbers are screaming Pat Kirwan's going to be wrong. Okay, that these are going to be 2 one-score games is what the numbers are saying. We'll see who's right. Bengals have covered 8 straight times, Mark, as an underdog, including the playoffs. Longest streak in the league. They're getting 5.5. Burrow's numbers are gaudy. Okay, as an underdog, he's 15-7 in his career against the number. All right. Bengals on the road the last 2 years are 15-4 against the spread. 15-4. Buffalo, by the way, only team to be favored in every game this year. How about that?
Well, obviously they played Cincinnati and Kansas City, so that's where that goes for those 2 teams. And Cincinnati, with the way they struggled early, I think was an underdog a couple of times.
Buffalo's only covered 3 of their last 11 games.
It couldn't have been favored by that much against Cincinnati.
No, it was
like 1 or 2.
I was going to say it's 1.5. It was a very low number.
Yeah. And Buffalo, by the way, 0-4 against the number when playing teams with a winning record. Just like last week. Obviously, they didn't cover against the Dolphins.
So what you're telling me, what you have basically said is just take the points in all 4 games.
Well, the San Francisco-Dallas game is
a little bit of a toss-up. But certainly in Kansas City, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, the Giants, Cincinnati, and Buffalo, what the numbers are saying is to take the points. Because obviously the touchdown number you gave in the 1 seeds is overwhelming that you take the points. And Buffalo 0-4 when they're playing a team with a winning record, covering, you're getting 5.5 with Cincinnati. I mean, there are a lot of trends pushing you towards the points in these games.
Right. The Niners-Cowboys numbers they're both really good. You can make the case, if you want to take Dallas, I can give you plenty of numbers to back it up. You want to take the Niners, just as many numbers, even maybe more, to take San Francisco. So, I don't even know if I should just go through. I'll throw one number that I think people may find interesting. The Niners under Kyle Shanahan have played 7 playoff games. The Niners are 6-1 against the number in those 7. The only one they didn't cover was the Super Bowl. So figure it out. Even when they lost last year to the Rams, they covered. So, for whatever that's worth, it's 4, 3.5, 4. It's pretty much stayed that way all week. It opened at 3.5. Some places it's 4. It's still 3.5. The Eagles-Giants line hasn't really moved. I think for an hour it was 7, but it's pretty much been 7.5. Money's come in on the Chiefs. That line's gone up a touch. Real money's come in on the Bills. That line went from 3.5, 4 to 5.5. I expect the Sharks to jump the Bengals if it stays at 5.5.
Yeah, I think you'll end up seeing that number end up at 5 because I think the sharp money will come in on Cincinnati tomorrow and Sunday.
And
I'm worried, David, that we had such a great super wild card weekend, and I couldn't do it. You want to give it one?
It was super.
It was. And I'm worried that we're going to get disappointed in divisional weekend because we were not expecting the great games that we got last weekend. And this weekend always delivers. My fear is that we're not going to get what you laid out on Saturday, that we're not going to get close games in the ones. I'll take one of the 2. Give me one of the 2. I'll be happy.
Well, I mean, and the reason, and we know most of you don't bet. We know that. But the gambling numbers, much like fantasy numbers, can tell us a lot of how the games actually will go. So according to the gambling numbers, we're going to get 2 one-score games tomorrow. And we might very well get a Bengals win. I mean, that's what the numbers say. The Niners-Cowboys one, the numbers just butt heads. It's kind of like,
And they should, because of these two teams in the great games they've played in the postseason. Hopefully, Sunday night, the final game delivers once again when the Cowboys and Niners get it on.
By the way, Pat was talking about Stephen Jones saying that Dak Prescott's the best game he ever played. Aikman said that midway through the fourth quarter. Usually the Cowboys and Aikman can't agree on anything.
I was going to say that's probably why Jones agreed with him. He thought the same thing. You know, if Troy says it, he might be right.
Well, maybe Stephen listens to Troy. We know Jarrah doesn't.
Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Right here. Where else but the Florida Sports Network?
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
If anyone in the Twitch chat has a child and that child is like, Dad, I want to watch. Whoa, holy crap. The lights went off in that Liverpool game. Yeah, if your kid is like, "Hey, Dad, I want to watch the new Puss in Boots movie," just go watch it. It's so freaking good. And yes, I'm saying that with a straight face. Hey, man, when the student section's right behind me, you know. And yes,
Be careful, Philly. Don't be talking about women in the stands. You don't know when the
no,
girlfriend's.
I'm
You
talking
don't
about
know when the girlfriend's watching.
talking about the crowd shots. Come
Mhm.
on now. Sorority girls. Go Eagles!
They're actually students at the games.
Oh, it was pretty packed last night.
Really?
Yeah. Team's good again. Students are back.
Which is funny. We scored 55 points.
Oh my gosh, David, it was an atrocious basketball game. It was one of the worst basketball games I've ever seen. There were some dunks though.
Yeah, they never had those under Coach Fly.
Never. Oh my god, it was so bad.
Right.
By the way, attendance was listed at 2471.
It's
Just so you
4,000,
know.
right?
Fits 4,400.
Well, yeah,
And they
it's
pull the bleachers out.
yeah, it's like 4,300, and then they count standing room, make it 4,633. 2471, and that's their biggest crowd of the year.
What's their biggest crowd of the year?
Last night, 2471.
Well, I mean,
I would love. Well, they need to host the ASUN. They can get that.
Oh, that don't. Well, I will say the ASUN does home games in the playoffs. But like right now, they're T5 in the ASUN.
They can't be. Are they? How many games are they back?
2.
Yeah.
But like a huge game tomorrow. They got Kennesaw tomorrow.
Yeah.
Kennesaw's tied for first.
But I'm just thinking an ASUN championship final in the Alico Arena would.
Yeah, they've had that. They've had that 2 times, 3 times actually. They've lost 2 of them, by the way.
Oh damn!
I called one of them.
Right, 2014. Yeah, when they lost to Mercer, the rematch.
Funny story about was that what year did they? Was it the next year they went to the tournament in the play-in game?
No, 2016.
2016. So 2016. We had a minute. So I knew the guy that was directing the band for that
15
1 year.
seconds.
Apparently, the last time they had gone somewhere, the band had gotten in trouble by going out. And Jim Weir, single guy, did it. Looked at all of them, had them all in a room. There was no parents in there. He goes, "Any of you can go out, I will."
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. Halfway home in the 239, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Since we have Pat Kirwan in the 7 o'clock hour on Fridays, the Clutch Vodka play of the day will be coming up in roughly 20 minutes' time.
And it's a mystery to all of us.
Right. We haven't talked to Felipe about it. Well, it's a good thing we moved it back an hour. So, listen, we gave you a bunch of numbers last segment. Now we'll make our picks. JP Shadrick, by the way, coming up, Jags Radio Network, in about 35 minutes from now. You just want to go in order?
Sure.
All right. Tomorrow, late afternoon, snow in the forecast in Kansas City. Chiefs a 9-point favorite coming off the bye against the JAGS We've won 6 in a row. Jags. Pat Kirwan last hour thinks Kansas City is taking Jacksonville to the woodshed.
Well, I gave that stat. It sounds to me like, looking through the numbers, you went through all your numbers, but the number I saw about that game is that when you're able to run, when you can get a running back to run the football, you can keep the game within a score against Kansas City. So ETN is the guy for Jacksonville that's got to be productive, and he was last week. Now, obviously, Trevor Lawrence can't turn the ball over 4 times. If that happens, Pat's right. It's going to be a 40-14 type game because Kansas City's not letting Jacksonville come back the way that the Chargers did a week ago. It is chargering after all. But I think ETN can run the ball a little bit more effectively than others do. I think this game is going to be close for the first half. If Kansas City wins, it's with a fourth. It's much the same. If Kansas City covers, I should say, Kansas City's going to win. If Kansas City covers, to me, it's much the same way San Francisco covered against Seattle last week, that it's going to be close in the third quarter, and inevitably the bigger, stronger team just pounds them down late in the game. But I think we're going to get a little better game than that. I think it's going to be 33-20. God, see, I got 33-24, but that doesn't cover. I think the Jags cover. I'm taking the 9, but I like the Chiefs.
So you're basically going like 34-26.
Something like that.
Okay.
I can't say 25 because they're not going to get there.
So you like the Jags and the points and the over is what you're saying.
I do.
Okay. All right. I haven't looked at the over-unders for these games, by the way.
52.5 for this game.
Okay. The ESPN, their analytics in terms of, the odds that you have to win, they give the Jags a 21% chance to win the game. So if these teams played 5 times, the Jags would win once in this scenario. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Maybe. It's funny. I see the game completely opposite of you. Here's what really concerns me about the Jags. They have not gotten off to good starts for a while now, even though they've come back and won a few of these games and won them against good teams. I mean, Mark, we can go all the way back to mid-December. They were down 17 at home against the Cowboys, came back, tied it, won it in overtime on a turnover that they returned for a score. I mean, think about how they've won. They got this winning streak going here. Literally 2 of the 6 games they've won on a defensive score late, which leads, I just think this is a little bit of a magic carpet ride, and I'm thrilled for them. But, Mark, they've shown they can come from behind. They came from 17 down to beat the Cowboys. That's obviously a good team. They came from 27 down, 20 at the half to beat the Chargers, a pretty good team.
2 teams that can rush the passer, too.
Correct. And so, in theory, they could fall behind the Chiefs, and Trevor and company seem to be a second-half team. I just don't think they can do it again, if you know what I mean. And Kansas City starts fast. And the Jags have not for a while. I mean, not just those 2 games. Heck, even when they beat the Texans and you look at the final score and they won by 4 touchdowns, they struggled. Trevor didn't play well in that game. They pulled away in that game to win 31-3. They didn't start fast against the Jaguars. They were against the Titans, They were down 10-0. I mean, they actually started fairly fast against the Jets. They didn't score a ton of points, but they moved the ball. My point is it's been like 6 weeks since the Jags have gotten off to a really good start in a game. And, Mark, I don't think they recover from a mediocre start. And the other thing that you touched on, and I completely agree with you, if they're going to play with the Chiefs, they've got to run the ball. When they get off to a bad start, Mark, they don't usually stick with it. The underlying story that didn't get talked about enough last week was that ATN ended up with 20-plus carries in a game that they trailed the whole way. And one of the biggest plays in the game was what? The 4th and 1 ATN carry. All right. Doug Peterson actually stayed with a running game last week. It helped wear down the Chargers defense just enough. Mark, I wonder, he's going up against this guy, Andy Reid. You know,
And the two of them love to run the football.
Exactly. That's what concerns me about the Jags. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs to cover. All right. Give me a little 34-24 action.
Giants and Eagles. David, I do, despite what you think, listen to nearly every word you say on this show. I mean, I admit sometimes I check out during the starting five because I know I've got the time. Same way that sometimes during today was a day when you check out. And I go, David, what do you think about that? And you're looking up going, then you read me back the same thing that I read 4 minutes later. And I went, oh, he must have missed that part. He had something going on. So I do pay attention.
Right.
And all year long, in fact, not even all year long, all season long, maybe all year long, you have been describing the Giants roster as a bottom 5 roster.
Yep.
I don't think you're wrong. He's easily coach of the year, and deservedly so, of coach of the year. He resurrected a quarterback that everyone thought was dead. Barkley has come back and played terrific football all year long. This is where, and I know the numbers point to close games and they've covered, but you've pointed out how many times they've lost at the link. I think the Eagles, I think it was Canada yesterday that said, it was either you or Canada that said, I'm running Hurts on the first play. I think you'll see in the first series a design quarterback run. I don't think they're going to have any issues running Jalen Hurts in this game. And I think the Eagles in the second half are going to pull away and win this game convincingly. I think this game's going to be 28-17, somewhere in that range. And I think the Eagles win and cover.
Which Eagles team are we going to see? Clearly the game's in their hands. They're the better team. Are we going to see the team that, quite frankly, the last 4 games of the regular season, they didn't play particularly well? They lost 2 of them. Or are we going to see the team that on December 11th beat the Giants 48-22? Because the Eagles are capable of doing that to the Giants. Giants have gotten a little healthier since then in the secondary. They got a corner and a safety back. All right. And Jones in the offense is playing at a different level then. But it's not a good matchup for the Giants. It isn't. I think the Eagles eventually cover this game. Maybe the Giants can hang in there. But, Mark, it's tough to convince me that A.J. Brown isn't the X factor in this game. I don't think the Giants can cover him. I just don't. Give me the Eagles and give me 27-17.
So you and I are very similar in our scores of Philadelphia and the Giants. We differ greatly on the Chiefs and the Jags. David taking the Chiefs to cover and run away with it. I am taking the Jags to lose, but I think they cover the 9. If I'm betting it, I'm waiting till the last minute. I would hate to, because you want all 9 points, but you got to see if this number is going to go up another half at some point.
Over under 48. So Vegas is basically saying 28-20 with the spread being 7.5. Eagles. By the way, Giants given only a 20% chance of winning. Jags a 21% chance of winning. I like the Bengals, by the way. Just going to say it. I like the Bengals. If Von Miller was there, I'd love the Bills. I don't think the Bills can rush the passer without blitzing Milano. I think you can't blitz Burrow. That's death. So I really don't like this matchup defensively for the Bills. And yes, the Bengals offensive line concerns the heck out of me, but Joe can go to a short passing game and the Bills can't cover.
I didn't think you were going to go that way. I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl when the season started. I'm scared to death about this game.
Yep.
For Buffalo, because I'm with you. If you blitz Burrow, this is the best group of receivers left in the postseason. It's not close. And they've got a tight end and they've got a Mixon. I am confused as hell as to why this line has gone the way that it did. I'm with Pat that I think it's all about the Bengals offensive line, but you heard Pat give the numbers. If they can hold it to 4 sacks or less, the odds are heavily in the favor of the Cincinnati Bengals and their numbers with Joe Burrow. I think they can keep it at 4 sacks or less.
So that's my road team winning. One road team almost always wins divisional weekend. Last year I think we had 2 win because both 1 seeds got beat last year. San Francisco and Cincinnati went in on the road, and the Rams beat the Bucs. Last year road teams went 3-1 this weekend. But that's my road win. I'm going with the Bengals.
As am I, David. I've been thinking the Bengals and the Niners for a while when the playoffs started, despite what my preseason pick was with the Bills.
Yeah, I know. Me too. You had the Bills beating the Packers. I had the Bills beating the Bucs.
Well, those 2 are gone.
Well,
I didn't even make the playoffs.
We're both still alive with the Bills.
And neither of us are picking them this week.
Right. Well, Von Miller absence. The team's been very different since. And Josh Allen, could you not lose the turnover battle this week? That would really help the cause. I do agree with Pat, though. He's going to run. He's going to run a lot. We'll talk Niners, Cowboys, and the Clutch Vodka play of the day next.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Say hello to my little friend. Great movie quote, terrible bedroom talk.
What did you just quote?
Friend of mine, I just looked at our Facebook comments and I was scrolling down. And a guy I know, that's just he puts memes out every day that just make me smile. That's about the best one he's had in a long time. Ah, that's funny.
Oh my gosh. The last time I caught snook, ate it, and it was like one of the best things I've ever had in my entire life.
It's delicious.
Oh my freaking God. Snook is so good. What's a largie? Or a
Largemouth bass.
largie. Yeah. I've only fished on a lake once in my life.
It's amazing. Like we have tarpon at our golf course, like lake tarpon there's a couple, they somehow get through the canals and manage to make it, and they're freshwater tarpon. And
That's crazy.
there's a couple that I've seen. They're 2.5, 3 foot fish that are in these little, I would love. I mean, that would be so fun to get one of those.
Oh my gosh. Because they fight.
Oh
My God, they fight. The tarpon and the keys are gigantic. You ever been to Robbie's?
yes.
You know, I think I've said this before, but Robbie's granddaughter goes to FGCU.
Yeah, you were the one that heckled me for suggesting you take your girlfriend to Robbie's. You flat out blasted me a month ago when you were going to the Keys with your girlfriend. Said, you got to take her to Robbie's. She's never been to the Keys. That's such a tourist place. I'm like, I understand that it's there. But the first time you go to the Keys, you stop at Robbie's, and then you don't have to ever go again.
Yeah, but I mean, you want to be out on the water in the Keys.
I understand that, but you have to drive there first.
Yeah.
And it's literally the first place you can stop and have a drink.
Yeah. We went to Alligator Reef and a couple sandbars. Alligator Reef is beautiful.
Oh, that's the back way, right?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. JP Shadrick, a little more than 15 minutes time. Jags Radio Network, Westwood One. JP and us had a little thing going. Fridays, right around this time, we talk. Jags haven't lost for a while. Reached out to JP and said, hey, you available? He's like, yeah, we got to do our thing. And, okay, we'll keep it going. Whole superstitious thing, we got it. We got it. You know, you're playing Mahomes and the Chiefs right now.
He doesn't care.
Right.
Don't blank with a winning streak, David.
I've heard that. I have. Late game is Cowboys-Niners. It's the smallest spread of the four. Dallas, by the way, given a 53% chance of winning, according to ESPN analytics. How about that? Cowboys win this game 53% of the time.
So I'm curious with those ESPN analytics, did they put out a point spread as well? Because obviously if it's 53%, then they would be all over Dallas. They'd have to make them a point and a half favorite if they're taking them 53% of the time, or at least a half a point favorite.
ESPN doesn't have its own sports book.
Not yet.
Not yet. I think it's something that they are looking into, as are a few others. So You make a valid point. Their analytics say Dallas wins this game 53% of the time. Over-under is 46.5 with a 4-point spread. That's basically 25-21 type of game. 24-20, that sort of deal.
The hardest thing for me in this game with Dallas is to try to figure out what I'm looking at. Because as Pat pointed out earlier in the show and earlier in the week, that Dallas, after losing every time this year, has played a great football game. And doing so, they'd beaten some good teams. I don't consider their win against the Bucs beating a good team. And I've been spending the entire week trying as best I can to figure out what it is they did Monday night. Did they just demolish a bad football team, or have the Cowboys found themselves? At the end of the day, I don't think they're going to be able to stop San Francisco. Obviously, San Francisco runs the ball. This is going to be a really close, really good football game. Micah Parsons says you got to they're a three-headed monster. We got to cut the head off of one of the monsters. Don't care which head we cut off, but we got to cut one of them off. Good luck.
As you mentioned, Dallas has beaten good teams. They've done it throughout the season. Now, you could say the Bucs were not a good team. That's fair. I mean, that's fair. They were below 500. So that's fine. But this is who Brock Purdy and the Niners have beaten. Remember, Garoppolo gets hurt against the Dolphins. Now, Purdy had to come in because he got hurt early in that game, and he had to make some plays, and he did. I mean, every single game Brock Purdy has played, not only has he and they won, but he's thrown at least 2 touchdown passes in every single game. So he's not just handing the ball off, and McCaffrey and company are getting it done running the ball. Every game he's played, all 7 of them, he's 7-0. He's thrown 2 or more touchdown passes in every game. But here's who he's done it against. Came in relief against the Dolphins. That's the best team they've played during this stretch. Then they beat Tampa Bay, Seattle, Washington, Las Vegas, Arizona, Seattle. I mean, during this whole thing, they've not played a team that's won 10 or more games. You go back before that, they beat the Saints, they beat the Cardinals. Now, they did beat the Chargers in a close game at home. That was a 10-win team. They beat the Rams, got pounded by the Chiefs, got pounded by the Falcons, for that matter. Beat Carolina, beat the Rams. You know, you go early in the season, heck, you know, that was forever ago. You don't want to count it. But they lost to Denver, even, believe it or not. Cost them home field advantage. That 11-10 loss early in the year to the Broncos. But the point here is that from a one-loss standpoint, Mark, the best team they've beaten all year is the Chargers. Now, it's the old, hey, we're just playing who's on our schedule. This isn't like Michigan and Georgia and their non-conference schedule, which they arranged to be a bunch of little sisters of the poor. But clearly, Mark, especially if the Eagles advance, I mean, the Niners are now going to play teams that they have either not played or the couple of times they've played them, they've gotten whacked. So this is a step up for this Niners team this week.
Now, those earlier games, there was no McCaffrey.
For the first half of the year, no question.
Their defense was a little banged up the first half of the year. And
Valid
what they've
point.
done in those games since the Dolphins game is simply score 33, 35. They scored 21 against the Seahawks, 37, 37, 38, and 41.
What are you trying to say, Mark?
I am just saying that despite the fact that they've played lesser competition, they've been able to score 30-plus in every game but one. And they've gotten into the 40s.
Maybe it's why Pat Kirwan said Brock Purdy for president.
Brock Purdy for president. Wow.
So here it is. Dallas, San Francisco. No 2 teams have ever met in the playoffs more, by the way. Just like ties, the 2 other matchups. This is, however many times they played, this is tied for the most matchups. Dallas is 5-3.
And this is their 9th time. that they will meet in the postseason.
Dallas is 5-3 in the previous 8. Frisco won last year in Dallas. Can the Cowboys return the favor, yay or nay?
31-30 San Francisco.
Got a lot of stock on Brock.
Field goal to win it because of a mixed extra point earlier in the game.
Look at that. 27-20 Niners.
This game's going to have massive eyeballs on it.
Yes.
And I think it's going to deliver.
I predict 40 million. To give you an idea, Monday night did 31.
Oh, I think you're onto something there. If the game delivers at all, you're onto something there. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Felipe, surprise us. What do we got?
Man, I really wish that I watched that Warriors-Celtics game last night. It was amazing. Final seconds of the first half, Celtics get a steal. Curry gets it right back and does Stephen Curry things. Brian Anderson on the call.
And a takeaway. Excellent defense by Boston. Oh, and now Curry gets it right back from half court. And it's good. A Curry moment in Boston. Got it off in time and drills a half-court shot.
That's your Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Boston would tie it late in regulation, win it in overtime in a rematch of the NBA Finals, and the Golden State Warriors still struggling on the road, where they are just god-awful this season.
I thought Felipe was going to, maybe couldn't find it. The runner by Loyola Marymount in the lane with 13 seconds to go to knock off Gonzaga and snap their 75-game home winning streak.
It's the Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch with a K. Look for Clutch Vodka wherever you buy your spirits. Look for them online at clutchspirits.com and hashtag any of your libations with the hashtag Clutch Spirits.
By the way, Mike Bray, kind of a forced retirement by Notre Dame. He is the all-time winningest college basketball coach at Notre Dame. 23 seasons. This will be his final year. Yet Jimmy Boeheim's still coaching.
As long as Jimmy Boeheim wants to coach.
Yeah.
It's the way that it goes there.
Might as well rename the university.
They've got enough power in the media to do it, David. They've got enough power. That's for certain. We've got JP Shadrick coming up. This is his thing.
Right.
8:38 on Fridays. Keeping the train rolling along. Can the Jags do the impossible in Kansas City? We'll talk to JP Shadrick about that next, right here. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Yes, it would, Nanaki. It would. I think, Johnny, I think everybody I think most of the country's Rudy. Well, that's not true. Mahomes pretty popular. Kansas City's really, that's the problem, Johnny, is that Kansas City is really, really popular. That's why, Adam was being, the Burrow and Lawrence is the matchup everybody wants to see. If Mahomes wasn't, if it was somebody else, you might be right. But right now they want to see Mahomes and Burrow, Mahomes and Allen. There's clearly three and everybody else right now. Morning, JP.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, great. Just great. All's good.
You bet. If a negative word comes out of your mouth after the last 10 years you've had to deal with, I will reach through the screen and stab you in the neck.
What? I said I'm doing great. What's negative about that?
You seemed.
You're assuming. You're assuming.
Well, we were reading your tone, and you sounded like you're aggravated, and it's been a long week. And basically, we're saying we don't want to hear it.
I just said I'm doing great. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, JP.
How are your Wheaties? How are your Wheaties this morning?
Exactly.
My turkey and cheese, JP. That's my breakfast of choice. Turkey and cheese slices.
Give me a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what he had to deal with in the booth with me for years. You can see why, since I've moved to Jacksonville, he's reached out to me once. It's like, I ain't putting up with that a-hole.
I think you reached out to me, actually. I didn't reach out to you. You reached out to me. Let's get it right. If we're going to get it right. I mean, I don't know. You're gallivanting around Monday Night Football. I don't know where you're going, travel schedules. I mean, I get enough going on.
I know you do.
He's just lapping all of us, JP. We're just in the wake. Just trying to swim through the wake.
It's Dave's world. We're just living in it.
Right. My wife's asleep by 8:00, JP. There's not a damn night and a damn thing we can't do. Some nights
you don't know. You don't know what I do after 8:00, though, Dave. So
no, I don't. I don't. Nor who you do it with. No, I do not. No, JP, you are day to day, aren't we?
How many local newscasts are out in front of the stadium right now? Right? Are they all out there? David was
there. So they're doing like a fan going away thing outside of the player parking lot. So there's I walked in, there was probably 100 fans, but it's supposed to start 9:30 to 11:30 when the players leave to go to the airport. So there's the drum lines out there. There's all the TV stations are out there. It's all that today. Yeah.
I woke up to Action News Jacks, and they had their whole morning newscast live from the parking lot, everyone in a different section.
I walked past two of them from my car to the front gate. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it's all this today. Yeah.
So were the stadium lights on all this morning early then? Did they light the stadium up, or just they're sitting there in the dark with their lights?
Well, they're outside, so I don't – outside the gate. So I don't know. I wasn't here for that. I wasn't here that early. I was here early enough, but I wasn't here before dawn today.
Jesus, slacker.
I know. The season started in early August, so guess what?
And
it is crazy, right? First game was the Hall of Fame game.
That's
I mean, this has been a long run.
Did you get Tirico or Collinsworth?
I got Tirico, yeah. They've been great. NBC's been really good. I got him and Harlan. Harlan's doing Westwood.
Here we go, guys.
Harlan's awesome.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We hope that you are watching the Miller and Moulton show on twitch.tv. If so, you can see the big smiling face, even the robust eyes that are gleaming of J.P. Shadrick, complete in his Jags pullover. Jags, Jags, the last Florida NFL team left standing, which we all knew would be the case 4 months ago. JP Shadrick, Jags Radio Network, Westwood One Radio. Follow him on Twitter, JP Shadrick, SHADRICK. How are you?
Well, I must say there's a lot of things that have helped my career, technologically over the years. High definition is not one of them, but it's what it is. It's good to be with you this morning, and we're still playing football. It's unbelievable. I cannot – we're just talking about this. This season started in the Hall of Fame game in early August. We're putting Boselli in the Hall of Fame, and it's the first year. Let's see how they do. And then they lost 5 in a row, and then they didn't. They haven't lost. They've won 6 straight. They're winning unbelievable, all-time epic comebacks. These cats won't quit, man. They're unbelievable.
You tweeted out on Sunday, I think it was, that you ran into people that admitted they left at halftime. Now, I know we have listeners, we're all over the state, so I get it. A guy in Fort Myers or in Tampa went to bed at halftime, but leaving the stadium at halftime and they admitted it to you. That's the part of this that I don't under. I would have been running from JP Shadrick if I just would have put my head down and said, I'm sorry, maybe yelled Duval and went on with it. But it is crazy. It wasn't noticeable when you're working the game that people were leaving, was it?
No. And this is only a few people. I mean, a few people I know pretty close. And then some people who would just randomly come up on Sunday just happen to say, either their story of the game, where they were at the game. There was a couple of people that said, I left at 27-0 or at halftime and then had to watch it on TV because there's no pass outs anymore. It's in 1985. So they can't get back in the stadium. So it's pretty remarkable. But I'll tell you this, if they're coming up to you and telling you that stuff in the middle of some restaurant, this town is crazy Jaguars right now. It is over the top. It's already big anyway. And it was big last week when they won the division. It's only growing. And there are people all over this place that have a memory of that game, and they'll have it for decades to come because it's 27-0, third largest in playoff history. We know that, the way they came back. But no team's ever lost the turnover margin by 5 and won a playoff game ever. And it doesn't happen in the regular season much. In the last 10 years, it hasn't happened in the NFL, at least. It's impossible what happened last week. And this team's proving that some things are possible that you may not think. And that's another comeback. Put it on the list. Now, if they get down 27 at Arrowhead, then we're calling the witch doctor.
In all seriousness, though, the Jags, even during this winning streak, I think there's only one game that you consider that they really got off to a good start. And the Chiefs, notoriously, JP, start off quickly. I mean, 14-3 deficit at the start of the second quarter. I don't like your chances. Mark thinks, they got to run ATN 20-plus times and slow the game down. Just your thoughts about, can Jacksonville get off to a decent start?
Right, and that's a great question because they have not proven that a lot this year. They've had a lot of slow first quarters. It's their least scoring quarter of all things, and they get behind and, they've been able to, at least at home, climb out of some of those holes against some good football teams too, by the way. But it's a different animal once you're on the road. And who knows Andy Reid's style of wanting to strike fast and all this offense better than Doug Peterson. He understands the first 15 scripted plays, probably 20 scripted plays. There's going to be a handful in there that are just strange, that have something weird going on pre-snap or in the red zone, the circling huddle thing, whatever that is, right? There's a lot of that stuff with Andy. And if you can weather that storm early and get to the middle part of the game, still kind of around it, if not in the lead, whatever, just kind of be in it still and weather that early weirdness. He'll still have a couple in his back pocket for later in the game, but you can't worry about those. Just get through the first quarter of those, and then you might be able to hang in there. But, Mark, I'm kind of with you. I think this is a slow-it-down game. I don't know if this is not a Tennessee Titans slow the game down. They're handing it off 40 times, 35 times. But I think they can make some hay on the ground this week. They felt like they could up in week 10 in Kansas City, and they didn't perform that well on the ground that day, but they might have a different idea about it now. If ETN can hang on to the football, that's another key thing. He's fumbled a few times, but I think they mix in the run a little bit more, and then they're going to have some mismatches outside. They did in week 10. Christian Kirk could not be stopped at Arrowhead. I mean, he had over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. They let him loose off the line, and he made them pay. So it's a mix. It's still a balanced offense, but a little more running emphasis maybe this week. And 10, 11 play drives, that keeps Mahomes on the sideline. That's the goal.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 losses for KC, as I've pointed out, the opposition's had a rusher get for 100 yards. If ATN can get to that magic number, to me, that's the way that they keep it close. But the other side of the ball is that, well, the Jags passing defense is not that it has numbers-wise not that good. This is Kansas City. How do you slow down Mahomes and company to try to keep them, I don't know, under 30?
Because they didn't the first time, JP, at all.
Right. And Kansas City got off to a quick start. And remember, that's week 10, so the Jaguars had some different players in different places on defense. They had not moved Darius Williams outside at corner at that point yet. Chris Claybrooks was starting at corner. Shaq Griffin was out. There was a lot of moving parts. They were trying to figure some things out. It's kind of settled since then. And, okay, maybe that's a fix of sorts. We'll see. We're about to get tested, obviously, this week. And the pass rush, they haven't been a great pass rushing team all year. That's just not who they've been. But down the stretch, in the last 2-3 weeks, you've started to see a little more of the impact of that. And a guy like Roy Robertson Harris from the interior is playing big. Josh Allen's really figured it out the last month and a half. Can they, at least get enough pressure on Patrick Mahomes with the 4 up front and not have to bring extra pressure? Historically, at least, Mahomes has been better against pressure than he has just standing there against 4. This year, it's different. I mean, their offense is a little different. Tyreek's gone, and his numbers go drastically down when you add some pressure. And, what is the definition of that? I don't know. But the idea, I think, is to, just kind of keep him contained, get some pressure on him, the mush rush. Don't let him get out of there because things get weird when he gets out of the pocket and he's underhanding the ball and throwing it 60 yards down the field, whatever that takes. So manage Mahomes, put 4 hands on Kelsey. Don't let him run free. He's going to get some anyway. And then I think the other guys are confident they can cover the other receivers. We'll find out.
Talking with JP Shadrick, Jaguars Radio Network, Westwood One. You can follow JP on Twitter, JP Shadrick, Shadrick. The Jags were +3 in turnovers in that regular season game against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs still had nearly 500 yards and won by 10, but really more comfortably than that. JP, is it possible? Like, I'm a Giants fan. Mark and I were talking earlier. The Giants and the Jags, neither of whom won 10 games in the regular season, are playing the 1 seeds, obviously on the road, who both won 14 games. Is it just possible that, the run ends here because they're just outclassed? I mean, as great as this Jags story is it possible that, listen, the Chiefs are where they are, we're where we are, we still need a year or 2 to get there?
Well, I mean, there's a reason they're the number 1 seed. You don't just fall into 14 wins, like being a bad team. Yeah, I mean, they're the number 1 seed. Of course it's possible, but the run ends for both. I mean, it's probably more than likely it does. I mean, Kansas City's been in this world before. They know what it is to be a number 1 seed. They know what it is to go on a playoff run.
But it's not just that it ends this week. It's the reason why it ends. It ends because it's like, listen, they're going in a different area code this week. They don't belong in this area code, the Jags and the Giants. They just, they're lost.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think the Jaguars are still trying to build their team as a whole. Kansas City's a really good football team. They've had time and years to build that thing, right? Jaguars are first year in. So I guess I'm not really understanding where the path you're trying to go down right now. Like, yes, Kansas City's favored. They probably should be because they are the team that's been the power in the AFC. Can the Jags go up there and win? Yes. Are they out of magic? I don't know. I hope not. Can they just go beat them straight up? Maybe. You never know. I mean, this is a confident team, but it is a better overall roster in Kansas City. They're a good team. What do you want? They're number 1 seed.
All right. Third downs seems to be an area. Oh, no.
Wait, hold on.
I'm confused.
Cut me.
No,
Cut me, Mick. Cut me.
You threw your blows. He came back with his. That's what we do here.
I need a standing 8 count.
To me, the other side, I think the offense can get theirs. I think they're going to be able to run the game. You pointed out where they might be able to throw it and have some efficiency, but they're 29th on third downs defense, and the Chiefs are second in third down efficiency. To me, it's pretty simple. Can you run the ball, and can you get some stops on third down? Because if they can't get stops on third down, well, then we're not going to schedule you next Friday, unfortunately. And I desperately want you to be on the show at 8:38 next Friday, JP, because that means the Jags have won.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to be here as well. And, that would mean the Jaguars run is not over against Kansas City and the streak continues, right? Much to David's chagrin, that would be the case. So, I would love that. So we'll take that, But it is third down defense because the pass rush hasn't been great, right? It hasn't been consistent all year. They've had some deficiencies in the secondary early in the season. But over the last month and a half, they've played better defensive football overall. And, last week even, they gave up 27, but there's 2 short fields. It's not like they drove the field on them all game. They just had to settle in a little bit and make some plays, get off the field on third down, and they did. They got a bunch of 3-and-outs when they needed them. So they're playing opportunistic football right now on defense. I think that's the best way to say it. And then the offense, when Trevor's on, okay, they're an offense that can pretty much hang with anybody. When he's off, as we saw in the first half, it can get a little squirrely. So we'll see which one shows up out of the tunnel at Arrowhead.
Is Waffle House an official sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars yet? Okay, has anything been worked out in the last 6 days?
It's advertising gold. I know that. I mean, that's first off, I think he's the first person in the history of Waffle House to get a reservation at Waffle House.
Yes.
I've never heard of that. So credit to Marissa, his wife, for making that happen. That was big time, clutch. In fact, no, it's been a fun storyline because, I mean, what else is open in Jacksonville at 2 a.m., right? I mean, Waffle House or the hospital, right? So, yeah, I'd rather go to the Waffle House. So, it's what it is. The kid grew up in Georgia. He's from Cartersville, Georgia. What do you want? I mean, he's probably got at least 2. The town I grew up in, Alabama, had 2 Waffle Houses, 1 at each interstate exit, right? That's what you did on Friday nights. You went to Waffle House after the game. So I don't think it's that abnormal. I get why people are kind of, excited about all that. But, yes, I would hope if somebody down the hall is doing their job well that we've got waffles at halftime at some point.
I'm a smothered, covered, diced, and peppered guy personally, JP. Yourself?
Covered, topped, and capped. So that's good for me. And the double patty melt plate, no onions, and add a lot of mayonnaise.
No onions on the patty melt, huh?
No.
Doesn't that make it just a cheeseburger if you don't go onions?
Yeah, on rye.
On the Texas toast. That's the key.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
Come on, Dave. Don't question us.
I'm not.
Me and Mark.
I know.
Mark know what we're doing. What's yours, Dave?
Just the patty melt. Always the patty melt. On rye, I'm with Mark. And even though I don't eat onions on most things, I leave it on the patty melt. By the way, I ordered 2. Okay.
Surprising.
I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't want to,
Surprising no one.
And you knew that. All right, here, I'm going to leave you with this since you've been beating me up the whole damn segment, all right?
Well, you've been coming. I mean, what are we? I'm not beating. Still a little
Still Jersey in
Jersey-ish. Yeah, I got some Jersey in there, Mark. But
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
no kidding.
we
You
do
know what
3 more weeks of this, though. You might just get it by the parade. Okay, so we'll see.
He needs
see
some
what
hat counts,
happens.
JP. I'm telling you right now.
Man, it's a work in progress.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So's Miller and Moulton, by the way. Hey, thanks for appearing. Have a great pre, half, and post tomorrow, and best of luck to you and the organization. Thanks for being a good sport.
Mark, Dave, appreciate you guys. It's great to appear with you guys each and every Friday morning. Let's keep it rolling. See ya.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, JP.
All right, guys.
JP Shadrick, Jaguars Radio Network, Westwood One. Follow him on Twitter, JP Shadrick. Miller and Moulton. Man, what do you think? Over under 100 times he's been to a Waffle House? I go over.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a